land of the tiger, home of the Taj Mahal, and 3 of the 10 largest cities in the world. Known for its fierce monsoons, high mountains, deadly roads, rampant pollution, and millions of gods, India will soon overtake China to become the most populous country in the world. Yet only 2% of her people know Christ as their Savior. There is a massive need to share the pure gospel of God's peace and Jesus' soon return with the people of India. In 2017, at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention, Pastor Doug met Dr. P. Satish Kumar, founder and senior pastor at Calvary Temple, the largest and fastest growing church in the world, with a weekly attendance of more than 195,000 people.
At that meeting, we met each other, and he had an interesting look on his face, and I wasn't sure what it meant, but he later said, "I was surprised to see you there because I watch Amazing Facts programs frequently." And while he was speaking to the NRB participants, which are Christians from all different churches, he said, "I'm so glad to see Amazing Facts here," and he began to quote from one of our messages. He invited us to India, and we thought, we would be interested in seeing what's happening there.
So in March 2018, Pastor Doug and the Amazing Facts team set out to reach souls for Christ. The 2 days of travel just to get there began with a 16-hour flight to Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Next, they made connections to Mumbai, and then finally to Hyderabad, the 4th largest city in India. Their mission was to share the gospel, sow the seeds of revival, and explore new ways of reaching over 1 billion precious souls lost in a mine of confusing religion. Amazing Facts' first stop was the tech center of India, Hyderabad, with a population of nearly 8 million people.
The largest gathering of Christians is in a Hindu country, and it's in Hyderabad, India. It was at Pastor Satish Kumar's church. And so he invited us there, and we spent an entire day with him.
And you actually had a sit-down interview with Pastor Satish Kumar, and then he showed us around their facility. One of the things that stands out is it's kind of a miracle. This facility that could seat 18,000 people, the main auditorium for the church, they also have some overflow, was built in a matter of 52 days with a lot of prayer and planning and organizing, and quite a place. They have 5 services on a Sunday, and we were actually invited to one of their services.
Thank you so
But
much.
we were rather amazed at how they can get so many people in the facility and out the facility within a rather short period of time.
5 services on Sunday.
An average of 35,000 per service.
Yeah.
It's a big deal to be a member there. You actually have to go through classes for a number of months.
That's right.
Remember, your family and society typically is Hindu or Muslim, and to be a Christian, these folks face some persecution. But once they make a decision to be a Christian, they are baptized by immersion, they become part of the church, everybody gets a little ID card that they scan in when they come to church in the morning.
That's right.
And if they happen to miss the early morning service, they get a text that says, "You missed the early morning service, don't forget, come to the next service." So we found it was interesting, even though you have that many people, they're very well organized in the way they try and minister to all of these people. Free medical care for the members of the church, half price on prescription for the members, funeral services for members. They also provide special events. They'll provide for weddings because it's a Christian wedding versus a Hindu wedding. We were rather impressed by just the organization.
And they feed them too.
Yeah.
They feed them once a week. Right?
And the food is cooked in containers that look as big as you could probably baptize somebody in the containers where they make the rice and curry. And they give every member once a year a birthday cake.
Did you receive a birthday cake?
Karen went and told them I was actually there on my birthday.
Can I interrupt? Today's a very special day. Do you know why?
Why? No, don't tell them.
It's Doug's birthday today.
Wow.
So there's his cake.
Even my birthday wasn't forgotten.
Happy birthday, dear Bachelor. Happy birthday to you.
While in Hyderabad, Pastor Doug held revival meetings on Friday, Sabbath, and Sunday to encourage church leaders and members on how to find peace, power, and purpose.
Part of the reason why we're there in Hyderabad was also to speak at the Union office. You did a 3-part revival series We had people coming in from a number of cities. Some even flew in from southern India. So that started on Friday evening.
They've got a lot of members that are scattered all over this immense city. There are millions of people in Hyderabad. And so they came together, and it just gave them a really sense of a unity. They told us it was probably the best organized and attended event that they had had there in memory. And so it was wonderful to just see all the people come together and to talk about the mission of reaching their city.
Well, that meeting happened Friday evening, but we need to get back to Calvary Temple because an interesting conversation occurred Friday morning.
Yeah, they do the services in Telugu, and so he said, he's got the services all planned for Sunday, but he said, we are having a special all-night prayer program. And
Called A Night with God.
Yeah, an entire night with God, and they have people that stay there literally all night and pray. I was really impressed with how much they pray. During the service on Sunday, the visitors identify themselves, and then they ask members to pray with them right during the service. So it's wonderful, the emphasis on prayer. But Pastor Kumar said, would you like to maybe come back? And, we'll have about 20 here. And, we'd had jet lag. That's, an honor that we would come and talk to 20 people. But I was weighing in my mind how tired we'd be after the other meeting. And somewhere along the way, he figured out that we misunderstood. And he said, no, not 20 people. He said, 20,000 people. And it was hard for us to believe. We thought, oh, he's exaggerating. There's no way there's going to be 20,000 people that will stay all night.
From 10 p.m. till 5 a.m.
Yeah.
That's when the meetings were.
And so we got there, and we got there probably about 10. I think I got up at 11, and there were 25,000 people that were there because the auditorium was full, and most of their overflow was full. And I tell you, it's quite a thrill, friends, to talk to 25,000 people. So that, in some ways, was worth the whole trip. And I shared my testimony.
Sabbath morning, we were back in the car going back to the union office, and it's about a 45-minute drive.
First few times I went to India, there were a lot more bicycles and oxen on the road, and now there's more cars and motor scooters because India is becoming more successful and more prosperous. But it doesn't seem like it's any safer. And while they do have driving laws, I'm sure, it doesn't seem like the laws are enforced very strictly. It's very interesting. There's lines in the road, but the lines in the road are really more of kind of a suggestion. No one really follows it very strictly. And there's a lot of times I think we had near-death experiences, at least it felt like that. As a matter of fact, I think we saw a number of people. You're supposed to wear a motorcycle helmet, but only half the people wear helmets. And if they come up to an intersection and they don't have a helmet and they see a policeman, they get off their motorcycle, they walk the scooters through the intersection until they're out of sight of the policeman, and they get back on again. That's all they've got to do.
Now, of course, Karen, you took note, not only do they have cars on the road.
They have camels.
They have camels on the road.
Yes, Sabbath morning we were on our way to church and there were a line of camels walking in the road. And I found the traffic to be really quite interesting because it like flows like a river, and every opening that can be is filled with a vehicle of some sort. Amazingly enough, there really weren't that many accidents, at least that we experienced. I think I saw maybe one.
When you look at the motorcycles, it's not just a motorcycle for two, but there are many cases we saw an entire family packed on the back of a motorcycle.
4 or more.
It was the dad driving, and the mom would be behind him, and they would have a little baby in her arms, and there would be another one sitting on the handlebars,
and one in the backpack.
holding on the back.
So I think we saw up to 5 family members on one motor scooter. These are not big American motorcycles, and sometimes, many times, the ladies are wearing these beautiful saris, and they're riding side saddle.
And then that was a busy Sabbath. You spoke there Sabbath morning, the 11 o'clock service. They have a church on the compound, but there were so many people they couldn't do the meetings in the church.
Right.
So we ended up renting a large tent and stage, and they put this in the back of the facility where people could just come in.
Courtyard in the back.
Courtyard. They also had people in the church, and they were broadcasting on some large
and tents out in front of the church too.
Yep, people were there. And then afterwards in the afternoon, there was a Bible question time period, and we had people write down Bible questions, just a wide range of Bible questions. That was kind of fun, just to spend an hour or so answering those questions. You did the final presentation then on Saturday evening, and things wrapped up by, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
And then by the time we visited with the folks and said goodbye, it was again another very full day, and we made it back to the hotel. Then Sunday morning, 9 o'clock, we were back at the union office for the final presentation. And then from there, we loaded in the car and we drove back to Calvary Temple for one of their worship services, just to kind of get the sense.
Everyone on the campus, when we walked on, they all say shalom, and they smile, they greet every visitor. It was interesting, they all take off their shoes.
Right.
And every time we went in, we took off our shoes. And you wonder, will we ever find our shoes again? Because if you got the shoes at each service, 30,000 people, they were very careful to mark where our shoes were.
And they separated the men and the women.
Even the husbands and wives, the men and women did not sit together. Something like in Bible times,
right? When
Paul writes to the men and the women talking to each other, he's talking because they sat separately. And he basically, for an hour, he just opened the Bible and did expository biblical preaching. Unlike some of the churches, Christian churches in India, they're ranting and raving a little bit and carrying on. It's a little charismatic and Pentecostal. He was just teaching the Bible, and that's what's developing the largest Christian church in the world, is the preaching of the Word. He is very well acquainted with Seventh-day Adventist beliefs. His uncle that lives in his home is a Seventh-day Adventist, and he says he watches our programs. And I think we should continue to pray. Pastor Kumar is a man of God that loves the Word, and he's continuing to study.
80% of the population in India practices Hinduism, 14% adhere to Islam, and the remaining 6% follow other religions such as Sikhism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Christianity makes up just 2.3% of the population. While Christianity is not widespread in India today, its roots have been traced back to the Apostle Thomas, who spread the gospel in the East shortly after Christ's death. Today, the need to share God's truth in India is greater than ever. Next, Pastor Doug and the Amazing Facts team headed out to a small rural village about 2 hours from the city center to hold a good old-fashioned evangelistic Bible prophecy series for 3 evenings.
The town where we went was about 20 minutes outside of Sangareddy. It's called Atmakur. You're out in just rural India.
Karen, you were able to go a little earlier to the village just to kind of get some sights of what it's like out there in rural India. What were some of the things that you experienced when you went?
Coming from Hyderabad, where we were in Tech City, to this little village where people lived in small little homes that they built, and the sheep and the goats being led by the shepherds and the goat herders. It was really an opposite experience. People were so friendly. I had several ladies come and offer to give me a sari, and I stood there and went like this, and they started putting clothes on me, and so it was really quite an experience. And we laughed and talked and had a wonderful time, and it was a special gift and something that I really treasure and appreciate.
Amen.
So we were out there in that village doing an evangelistic series. We went out into a big field.
It was a cotton field.
A cotton field. They had plowed it down, and they set up a little bit of a platform. And the people just came and sat on the floor. There were some chairs set further back, and we had 3 nights that we were there. Started out with probably about 600 people opening night on Sunday evening. The next night, the crowd grew to probably 800, and then the final night, we were over 1,000 people. So the people just kept coming.
Another stop made by the Amazing Facts team was to Good News TV, a Christian television station in India that is now broadcasting the ministry's flagship TV program, Amazing Facts Presents, across the nation.
They actually helped us produce our first evangelistic program in 1999. It has now grown to be the largest Christian television distributor in India. When we met them, they had just left their other business and they were launching out by faith into media. We gave them, I think, the day before the Cosmic Conflict DVD. And they sent it to their office in Chennai. They started working on it, and they had, when we came, they had translated most of it lip sync, not just the words. They'd changed the music. They had a voice that was reading the scriptures. It was very professionally done. And, we have to remind ourselves that the biggest media producers in the world are not Hollywood. It's Bollywood. India has some very professional, very proficient media industries. And so that was very exciting for us to spend the time with them in their studio.
Now, for me, that was probably one of the highlights, was being able to see the potential and the possibility for evangelism in India.
Yes.
The following week, after several powerful experiences meeting with local church leaders and media experts, Pastor Doug and the team boarded a plane to Pune. There they met with many passionate Bible students and held a revival meeting at a Christian university.
On Thursday evening, Pastor Doug, you were invited to come speak to the theology students there on the campus.
Yeah, that was very exciting. And we met some students that they've come in through Amazing Facts.
That's right.
It was through some Amazing Facts, YouTube or material or literature.
And then Friday evening, we started the special weekend series that we did there at Spicer College. That took place at the university church. And it's a good-sized facility, and I think we had close to maybe 1,800 people there on Friday evening. All the students came out, and a number of folks from the community came. Pastor, you preached a special series about living above the crowd.
Yes.
And you kind of launched that on Friday evening. And then Sabbath morning, we came back and for the main church service, and the facility was packed. We must have had over 2,000 people that were there. Again, I was impressed with, they just sat so quietly listening, just taking up every word, just sense the presence of God, just a good spirit there, and it was a real blessing to be there Sabbath morning. Sabbath afternoon, we had a special final meeting. We had time for Bible questions. Very powerful. Folks really seemed to appreciate everything that happened there.
Amazing Facts has had a presence in India for more than a decade, conducting evangelistic and revival meetings, training workers, providing media resources, and even preparing materials in the local languages.
Well, it was a busy, but I think a very rewarding and exciting trip to India.
Amen.
We've been in India for a while. Amazing Facts has had a presence there for a number of years. We've been doing training. We have a team currently that's working in India, about 2 and 3 hours drive from Mumbai is where they're located, doing a lot in the area of media and preparing publishing materials. They've also been doing some training. So tell us a little bit about the team. They were very involved in organizing this whole program for us.
Wonderful people. That a big sacrifice when you make a commitment. We have some of them are from America, many of them are local, and some of them have degrees in nursing, and they could make a lot more money doing other things, but they're just interested in mission work. And they're helping us translate material. Not only are they doing translation and web work, they're also doing training, because a lot of the pastors there, they hear the message, they believe the Sabbath, they convert, and they want to pastor. They don't have all 27 fundamentals understood, and so giving thorough, deep training to the pastors to defend the faith is so important. But as we mentioned, the thing that really impressed us was we went around the country. Satellite dishes were sticking up out of virtual shacks, not virtual shacks, shacks. Sometimes they had leaves and tarps on the roof, but they had a satellite dish. We saw very poor people. They were surfing the internet on their phones. And so we just became impressed that one of the most powerful things Amazing Facts can do now is to go back to Good News Television and say, matter of fact, we've already talked to them, and say, translate our best evangelistic programs in Hindi, that's the main language, Telugu, in Tamil. We are on TV now in India, not only through satellite, we're on cable in English all over the country, but we really have got to get into the languages of the people.
So we're working actively now in getting our material translated into these key languages, both video content as well as print material, that we could start airing on these various networks. The atmosphere is changing a little bit from a political side in India. There is restriction coming upon Christianity. They don't want people doing public evangelistic meetings, especially foreigners coming in. So we don't know how long the doors are going to stay open for public broadcast of Christian truth. So we want to try and take advantage of that now and get our material translated and broadcast.
And we met people on the streets that have seen our English programs. We now need to get people to be watching the message in their own language. That and taking the best Amazing Facts material, putting it up in their language, and developing websites in Hindi, Telugu, and Tamil. So it's a big commitment that's going to take years. I think it is probably one of the most fruitful, ripe, evangelistic countries. The potential for winning souls in India right now is incredible. I think it's safe to say that a lot of the people, Hindu's the main religion there, and they've got over 1 million gods. The educated people there are finding Hinduism is very fantastic and difficult to believe, to take seriously. The tech industries are spreading around India. There's a whole new generation of very educated Indian people. They are looking for a religious worldview that makes sense.
Yeah.
And Christianity, I think, it's like Satish Kumar's church. In 2005, from, I think he said it had like 4,000 or 5,000 members to 160,000 members. Since I first met him, it went from 160 to 190,000 members. Christianity is going to explode in India. It's going to happen through media. He's using media. And we need our Amazing Facts friends to get behind us on this.
Thank you for your tremendous support, which makes reaching the nation of India with the Three Angels message possible. If you'd like to support Amazing Facts in reaching the multitudes of lost in India, prayerfully consider giving to this project, and then watch the kingdom of God grow.